In the land of Draconis, dragons were the fastest creatures, their scales shimmering like precious gems as they soared through the sky. The annual Dragon's Flight Race was the most anticipated event, where young dragons competed to prove their courage and skill. This year, the race promised to be more thrilling than ever, with a new course winding through the treacherous peaks of the Ember Mountains. Among the competitors was a young dragon named Zephyr, whose emerald-green scales glistened in the sunlight. Zephyr had been training tirelessly for this race, determined to honor his family and prove himself. His father, Blaze, was a legendary racer who had won the Dragon's Flight 5 times, and Zephyr felt the weight of living up to his legacy. The day of the race dawned bright and clear, with the skies a perfect azure. Dragons of all sizes and colors gathered at the starting point, their wings rustling in excitement. Zephyr looked around at his fellow competitors, recognizing many from the training grounds. There was Aurora, a swift and graceful dragoness with scales like sapphires, and Onyx, a fierce black dragon known for his daring maneuvers. The race began with the sound of a great horn, and the dragons leapt into the air, their wings beating powerfully. Zephyr surged ahead, feeling the wind rush past him as he navigated the first series of obstacles, tall rock spires that jutted out like teeth. He dodged and weaved, his mind focused and clear. As they approached the Ember Mountains, the real challenge began. The air grew hotter, and the sky filled with ash and smoke from the volcanoes below. Zephyr could see Aurora just ahead of him, her movements fluid and precise. Determined, he pushed himself harder, his wings straining as he gained on her. Suddenly, a burst of flame erupted from one of the volcanoes, sending a shower of molten rocks into the sky. The dragons scattered to avoid the danger, but Zephyr saw an opportunity. Using the thermal currents from the eruption, he climbed higher, gaining altitude and speed. He could feel the heat singeing his scales, but he pressed on, his eyes fixed on the finish line. With a final, powerful thrust of his wings, Zephyr shot ahead of Aurora, who had been momentarily slowed by the eruption. The finish line was in sight, a great archway carved into the side of a mountain. Zephyr's heart pounded in his chest as he poured every ounce of his strength into this last stretch. In a blur of green scales, Zephyr crossed the finish line, the cheers of the crowd echoing in his ears. He landed gracefully, panting and exhausted but triumphant. His father, Blaze, was there to greet him, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it, my son," Blaze said, his voice filled with emotion. "You have proven yourself today." Zephyr smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. He had not only honored his father's legacy but had also shown that he was a dragon of courage and skill in his own right. As the sun set over the Ember Mountains, the dragons celebrated their young champion, knowing that the future of Draconis was bright with such brave and talented dragons rising to the challenge. And Zephyr, now a hero in his own land, looked forward to the adventures that awaited him, confident in his abilities and proud of his heritage.